What's going on, everyone? So I really think that the Lakers need to kind of capitalize somehow, some way, some shape or form on the Brooklyn Nets. And to me, there's two clear ways to capitalize on Brooklyn. Right now, Brooklyn is essentially this hub right now that is just taking on and being the middleman and everything and being the place that you can go and dump salary and all of that. I think that that's very valuable for the Lakers, right? Things like an Andrew Wiggins trade. If you're going to pull off that Andrew Wiggins trade, you're probably going to need a third team to take on a Gabe Vincent or a Maxi Kleba or something like that. If you pull off, any trade for another way, a Miles Bridges or something like that, you're probably going to need a third team to circumvent that, right? Like Brooklyn is a team that's just like, hey, let everyone know we're open for business. We're here to take on guys. It's why they haven't signed guys like Day'Ron Sharpe and Zaire Williams and these guys, because they want to take on as much salary. They want to take on as many players. They want to stack and create as much assets as possible. So they're this team that right now is raising their hand going like, hey, if you need us to be the facilitator, we'll do it. And they're not asking, they're not unreasonable about it either. Like they just took Kobe Buffkin for cash considerations, right? It's not all just necessarily about picks. Obviously, there's guys that I'm sure that they want more, like Kobe Buffkin is younger than like a Highsmith, right? So it's like, I'm sure like a Dalton Connect, you might not have to give up, crazy assets in order to get off of, right? There may be ways for you to work out that type of trade to where you can maybe make deals or give up a second. Like, hey, here's Max Kleba, here's a second, right? Because they're going to have to buy out like 30 players by the time the season begins. They're going to have to figure out all kinds of stuff, right? So they're a team and an organization that, they're trying to do it all now because they're going to have to do it regardless. So if we have to clear off, 50 million, then we have to clear off 50 million. Like there's not going to be a real difference between the 50 million and, the 30 million for us, at least right now, because we are trying to stack assets so that way we can make plays, clear a bunch of cap space, do all this other stuff, right? Like they had the path where they were trying to clear cap space to bring in guys. That didn't quite work out. So now they're like, hey, we're going to hit the reset button. We're going to be one of the premier places with assets to where if we do get that guy or two, or if we need to go trade for that guy or two, boom, here we go. We got a ton of young players. We got a ton of young talent, and we're going to kind of spend the next year or two developing some of these guys, engaging and seeing how this all works out. And then when, hey, here's some guys that we could trade. Here's some young players. Here's a bunch of assets, whatever. Give us Giannis. Or, hey, here's a bunch of young players. Here's a bunch of assets. Give us Jokic, right? Lakers are kind of in that, or the Nets are in that spot where they're like, they have a clear plan and they're willing to work with teams. They're willing to be the middleman. Also, the Lakers and the Nets have a good relationship, right? They've made several trades with each other over the years, right? Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka have a good relationship, right? So you're going to probably get a better deal, a better kind of, because again, it's about relationships. So you're going to get better kind of leverage for your trades than you would elsewhere. So, you look at a situation like Danny Ainge, or not Danny, Danny Ainge was the guy that I was going to mention, so I might as well do it because I brought him, like Utah. I was going to use the reference. Like Danny Ainge with Utah has been a good spot for the Lakers as well. But I think Sean Marks and exactly what the Nets are trying to do, I think that is a better destination right now. But you always have Danny Ainge. I was just going to say the Nets part first and then loop it into Danny Ainge. But, what is it called? Freudian slip or whatever. Danny Ainge is the guy that the Lakers, like the Luka trade and stuff. And I see people be like, oh, he won't do trades anymore because of the Luka thing, because he was bamboo. Like, of course he will, right? Like, dude, we've heard for years that Danny Ainge would never trade with the Lakers because he hates the Lakers. He'd never trade with the Lakers because of LeBron. He never trade with the Lakers because of this. And he's made more trades with the Lakers than anybody over the last handful of seasons. So Danny Ainge is always going to be an outlet for us. But I think Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets are the best destination for us right now. I think that they are the ones that can make it work. I think they're the ones that we can kind of, use to orchestrate and make trades and do all the things that we need to do to upgrade this roster to a significant point. But beyond just being a salary dump team and being somebody that can be kind of the third team or the middleman for us if we need a clear salary or whatever, which I don't really like the idea of just salary, like pure salary dump. The Nets are there and you could probably do it if you needed to. But like I've always maintained, I want to see the salary dump in the mix of a trade, right? So again, you get like an Andrew Wiggins, you clear off salary for roster spots or whatever, and then you go make a move. But the other side of this, the Brooklyn Nets have a ton of players that not only are they going to need to get off of, whether it's buyout, so the Lakers could bring in some young guys through just buyout, right? But also via trade. Guys like Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams are guys that I think make a ton of sense. Highsmith now makes a ton of sense. I mean, if you wanted to go get a Nick Claxton still as just a higher end backup. I don't really like the salary for him just being a backup, but his contract does drop each season, and it would give you insurance in case DeAndre Ayton leaves. And then when Nick Claxton in 2 years is that expiring, you'd have that expiring contract that you can maybe load, or gives you a trade piece. If you do end up going and trade for a Giannis or something like that, it's like, hey, here's an Austin Reeves, a Nick Claxton, right? Like here's kind of the pieces and foundation, right? So now you can go Miles Turner, Nick Claxton, here you go. Or if you trade with a Brooklyn or a Denver Nuggets for a Jokic. It's like, hey, here's Nick Claxton, Austin Reeves, so on and so forth, right? So it just gives you some options in that regard, right? But to me, I look at the Nets and they are a team that is just flushed with just young talent, young players, but also have several veteran guys that I think make a lot of sense for Lakers, right? There's a lot of things that the Lakers could, potentially pull off and make a trade. And again, you have that built-in relationship. You've made trades with them in the past. They're in a position where they're going to need to get off of guys and stuff. So for example, if so even in the process of a trade, right? Because you got to remember, if the Lakers do like a 3-for-1 swap for Andrew Wiggins, they're going to need to fill in roster spots. So that could be another way that the Brooklyn Nets come in, right? Maybe you're doing something where you're doing the trade for an Andrew Wiggins, right? And then, the Nets are looping in as that third team, but they're giving you, they're taking on like, say, Maxi Kleba, right? And then you're doing a sign and trade for a Day'Ron Sharpe and Zaire Williams or something, just using their names as an example, right? So now you're getting those two guys with an Andrew Wiggins, and now you can kind of make those trades, and now you round out your roster in the process. Because you got to remember, like that's part of the problem that the Lakers are going to have to solve with the Andrew Wiggins thing, is if you do a 3-for-1 trade, which is why you're going to need a third team, you still have to fill out your roster, at least up to the 14th spot. You can leave the 15th spot open till the end of the season, right? And then, it all gets prorated and everything like that. So the Lakers can kind of figure it out then. But at least for right now, right, you need to do something where you end up trading for Andrew Wiggins and then filling in some roster spots. The Brooklyn Nets have several just young, cheap guys to where maybe you could do that, right? Maybe you could even get a Highsmith in the deal and give up a pick swap or something like that in the process, and bring in a Highsmith with an Andrew Wiggins, and then maybe bring in a Day'Ron Sharpe or something on the cheap, because they have a ton of centers. There was the 3-team trade proposed by Bleacher Report that I talked about, that the Lakers got Jaime Jaquez, Andrew Wiggins, and a Drew Timme, right? Which gives you two versatile 3-and-D wings, gives you a guy that, look, the Lakers probably should have drafted instead of Jalen Hood-Schifino in the draft, that you now would kind of get another shot, another chance with, gives you another wing, gives you some more versatility. He's kind of slipped the last few seasons compared to his rookie season, but can he kind of get back to, especially playing alongside Luka Doncic, LeBron James, guys like that, could he kind of get back to being the guy he was as a rookie, or was like, hey, dude, this guy might actually be something, right? That would be fantastic. Get an Andrew Wiggins in the deal, and then get a Drew Timme, or maybe you could work some out where you get Drew Timme I wouldn't hate, but could you get like a Day'Ron Sharpe in the process? I'm a fan of Day'Ron. I think he's just a better rebounder. Like he's a little more proven in that regard, but maybe get a Drew Timme, right? Maybe it is a deal like that, because again, the Lakers have to fill out their roster. Not as simple as just making a trade. And that's not just anybody over essentially 18 million, you're going to have to do a 2-for-1 swap. Right? Like anything, and depending on certain situations, you might have to do 2-for-1 swap. Even if you're trading for a guy that's like 15 million in salary, right? Like if they don't have the ability to absorb, say, a Rui, right? And that extra 3.5 million, then you're going to have to do a Dalton Connect plus a Gabe Vincent, right? So part of the Lakers' problems and issues is they need a third team regardless, right? So at least the Brooklyn Nets, you have two kind of outlets for them that you can really take advantage of, and I'd like to see. Obviously, it has to be within reason. I still stand by patience. I still stand by no trade is better than a bad trade, right? Like, I don't want to see the Lakers just like start getting crazy here, but if you can maybe land a couple pieces or a couple young pieces that they're kind of like, these guys, we're really high on these guys. These guys were a little kind of iffy on, again, if it's somebody that you're like, hey, there might be something here with this guy, maybe even bring in a couple guys on a flyer. What have the Lakers talked about? They want to be a premier organization development team. They want to be this team that is, building out and growing out this system and this culture. And they want to, be X, Y, and Z. And that's great. I love that. Right. But how do you do that if you don't start taking on young guys? Obviously, look, the Luka Doncic thing threw a loop into everything, right? Lakers have made the steps to become that development organization, but you need to start garnering these young assets, these young players and stuff that you can grow and develop, especially with the new CBA. It'd be really nice to have a high-end, top-tier kind of development and farm system to where, you're kind of cycling through guys and, you're bringing in these waves. Right, so guys start pricing themselves out, or they get bigger contracts elsewhere, or they just depart for whatever reason, right? Like, they can go, or they just don't work out. They're just not good enough. They go, you move off of them, boom, next wave comes in. Right? Okay, we need to fill up 3 roster spots. Bring in this guy, and this guy from the G League, and let's go. Right? Like, hey, we're gonna bring in these guys now. These 3 guys, bring them down into the development team, put them on a 2-way, whatever. Develop those guys, right? So like, have that farm system where you got these guys jumping into 2 ways. 2 ways lead into roster spots, and the roster spots lead into development or lead into main roster spots, right? And you just kind of, again, continuing that cycle. So, you have the trade potential where you could land some just quality pieces that I really think could upgrade the Lakers roster now and the long term, or you could do the salary dump trade, or you could just get a couple flyer guys in the process, right? Like, if you do, say, incorporate the Nets as a third team, bring in Andrew Wiggins or something like that. And then, hey, you know what? Instead of, we'll take a Timmy or whatever, or, you can keep Jaime Jaquez. Like, let's say they want to further, like, no, you know what? Keep Jaime Jaquez. We don't want Jaime Jaquez. Hey, Brooklyn, would you give us, a Dayron and a Timmy, or a Zaire and a Timmy, right? Because you have several guys, right? We'll take Timmy, fine, sure, but would you sign and trade Zaire to us, right? And you just start now again, kind of carving guys out and getting young players and young talent that kind of are ideal and fit around. And Drew Timmy could be a guy long term, right? Again, just most of these names are just examples, but it's something that I could see happening. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. If you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.